So one golden hour, a few precious minutes that we have to say we're going to cover that. We've been doing some brachos last week. It's been interesting brachos. To say that we're going to cover this topic in a few precious minutes, that's not possible, but at least get a little bit of a taste and exposure to it. And I hope next time you look at a piece of cake, cracker, challah, Rosh Hashanah challah, which is sweeter than the typical challah. I hope you're looking like, wow, is that Mezonos? Is it Hamozee? And you really have an understanding what it is. What? Yeah, and they're very sweet. The Rosh Hashanah challahs are so sweet. At what point do you say that this cake is a cake, but it's really not so sweet? That's Mezonos. And what do you say this challah is sweet, but very good. Very good. So at what point? Right. So at what point? So in the few precious minutes we have today, and today especially because it's a little bit short, I gotta leave a little bit early, but can we get a feel? What is? And then you have the famous question. You go on a plane, and of course, what do you see? On the roll is Mezonos roll. You go to any makola, you'll see stamped into some of the rolls what? Mezonos. And the question is, well, what makes any Mezonos Hamozee? It's a big discussion. The question is a quick question. The answer is a long one, but there are a few criteria here in the Shulchan Aruch in chapter 168 Kuf Samaches, Zayin, Vav Zayin and Yud Zayin, and the basis we could get in a few minutes. The details take some more time. Okay, so what is the criteria? What point do you say? So what do you guys think? What is the criteria for bread which is sweet but still bread, and cake which is not so sweet but it's still Mezonos? What's the criteria? You say these brachos all day long, right? Unless, of course, you're ketosis, high fat, no carbs. So then you don't know what the bracha Mezonos means. You don't know how Hamozee means. Chas v'shalom to have any carbs. But if you're not in the Atkins or the ketosis, high protein, high fat diet, and you do allow yourself some carbs, so this is all day you're making Mezonos and Hamozee, right? And I wasn't pushing or criticizing either one of those diets. It's another discussion. Anyways, so what do you say? What do you say? What is we've been saying 50, 60, 70, 80 years, we're saying brachos. What is the basic criteria? Yes, what do you say?
If you had a thermometer thing, then you could measure the amount of sugar.
Good. So you're saying a certain amount of sugar is a factor. Great. Good. Yes. How much water is in it? Good. So the sweetener is one issue. The water is another issue. Great. Oil and other things. Good. So the liquid content, the sugar content, the liquids. Good. What else?
I was told that if you're having a sandwich and it says that the roll is Mezonos and you're having a meal, you should still say Hamozee.
And then another issue is that even after we define what's Hamozee, what's Mezonos, we do know at certain points you could turn Mezonos into Hamozee by making a meal out of it. So good, we have to discuss that as well. So we have the liquid content is one factor. The sweetener content is another one. Good. Yeah, so that would be in the sweeteners. Good. You have enough chocolate chips, raisins, stuff like that, blueberries, whatever, that takes it out of. So basically, we're saying the liquid content is important, water, not water, verse. And then the content of the sweeteners. That's good. So you have the contents, and another criteria might be, okay, let's say I have those little matzah crackers, a little cracker, which consists of flour and water. It's a little cracker, and it's flour and water. That's all it is. So the liquid content is water. The solid content is pure flour. So are we convinced that that's going to be Hamozee? No, there's something else missing. What's missing? The size, good. And the fact is, the size often is an indicator that it's produced more as what? Snack than a proper bread food. Okay? And very often, a criteria for bread food is, yeah, and in Israel, we're great at this here because in Israel, it's part of our mentality fresh bread every day. In America, you get Wonder Bread in January, and then you clean it out before Pesach, and it's still fresh. It is a wonder. It's the eighth wonder of the world. So, but we don't really have that. Once in a while, they try to introduce the American breads here in the markets, but we want good, fresh bread that after a day or two or three, it's gone. It's spoiled. No, we want the real thing. So it's a different mentality here. We're so fixed on it. Like after Pesach, angels hour as open right at the Pesach. Next morning, you're gonna have fresh bread. Chas v'shalom with that fresh. It's a different mentality. I guess it's a mid-Eastern kind of thing. Yeah. Great. So totally, very, very good. So the fresh bread is soft, and anything you're eating, you're having a hummus and the tchina, the Mediterranean diet, which has really been proven to be a very, very healthy diet, Mediterranean diet, and you want that nice, soft, fresh bread, as opposed to a pretzel, a cracker. That's like a little snack. You're not really sitting down and having your potatoes and your meat and the cracker. It's just not really sold as a main meal food. So what means is the contents, which is the liquid and the solids, that's added in, and the consistency. So the intent, like what is it made as? Okay, very good. So you have the contents, the consistency, and then you're right, the intent of the whole thing. Okay, because you might have some foods which fit in well with content consistency. So when you have something really sweet, then the contents are off. That makes it not a main meal Hamozee food. When you have the right contents, but the consistency is very crunchy, that's usually not what we like with, to dip into the challah and the hummus, the hummus and all the tchinas at the meal. Usually we want something, soft. Matzah, of course, is going to be a big question because matzah doesn't have the right consistency, and yet we say Hamozee. Sfardim, what do they say on matzah 368 days a year? What do they say? Mezonos. They say that's not a motzi. That is not a bread meal. Only on Pesach, where we have nothing else, where we're sort of forced into having that as our main meal food for a week, it turns into a main meal. Wait a second, what do you do?
I go with Ashkenazi, but my kids that eat sometimes they disappointed myself.
And they say Hamozee on it.
Yeah.
Oh, but do you remember them ever having hard matzah during the year?
They had. They've been both.
Do you know what bracha they would make on it or not? You know what bracha they would make, Mezonos or Hamozee? If they could ever find out, I'd be curious. Because many Hamozee lechem. So many paskin in the Sephardic world, Mezonos, because saying it has the right content, it doesn't have the right consistency. Yes, so 7 days a year, okay, that becomes Hamozee, but that's it. It's fascinating. One day, last day of Pesach, Hamozee, the next day Mezonos. Fascinating. But now we understand why. For the Ashkenazim, even though it has the right content, but has the wrong consistency, once it became a Hamozee on Pesach, we treat it as a Hamozee all year. We appreciate both sides. Okay. So you have the content, the consistency, and then you're right, the intention, what's it made out of? Or so think of a food which has the right content, the right consistency, but the intention is more of a snack kind of food. Think of a food that we have. I'll give you a hint. Passing by in Manhattan, by the stands. The hot pretzel. So pizza, we're going to get into the hot pretzels. Okay, I don't know if the ones in Manhattan were kosher, but then they do sell the frozen ones that you heat up. Wait, what's in a hot pretzel? I think some of them, what? Water and flour in many of them. As far as I know, they don't have a lot of sugar and garbage and some salt. And bread also might have salt. So you have the right content. Yeah, that's true. The right content, the right consistency. But wait, its intent is made as a meal. Okay, let's sit down to a nice restaurant. And what are you going to be eating? Your good 150 2-pound steak and potatoes and hot pretzel. It's just not, right? It's not. So that plays a role. So, excuse the pun. So, the rabbinic jokes are so limited, so you got to take advantage. So that's really summarizes the sugya. That summarizes the sugya. Remember, lahavdi, lahavdi, lahavdi. Anybody playing Othello with our family members? It's a great line. A minute to learn and a lifetime to master. So really, it's 2 minutes. We have the basic sugya. Then you have to apply. It's not a lifetime. It's not. Just to apply all the different cases. But that's the criteria. Content, consistency, and the intent. And you put that all together, you can answer most cases. You hear? So now let's take a look at the Shulchan Aruch, okay? We'll take a look at it, as I said, a little quicker than I would normally like to, but I have to. Julia and her mom spoiled me, so we got to get used to the bus for today. So here we go. Kuf Sameches. He says, Pasa Babakisnin. That's what it's called. Pasa Babakisnin is this Mezonos kind of food. Okay. You say Mezonos and Alamechia. And if you made a meal out of it, like you mentioned, then it turns into Hamozee. But that we're going to hold off with, because how do you define a meal? Each one of us, if we have 20 of us in the room now, we're going to have 20 definitions of a meal, right? So do we just say, yeah, and each person, his meal, her meal, that's the meal, and that turns it into Hamozee. The Ravid actually says that. Rishon from 800 years ago says that, but we don't pass in that way. We go by different standards, which Mitzvah we'll discuss next week. And then he says, what is Pasa Babakisnin? What is it? And as you listen to it, you see, wow, it fits exactly into the criteria we just mentioned. Some say it is kis, like a pocket, and then you bake in sweet stuff. Okay? Devash, halav, umine tavlin, you put other stuff in it. But it's like in a pocket and you bake it that way. Or some say that it is isa, the dough itself you mixed into the dough. It's not the dough and then something in the dough. The dough itself is a sweet dough because you put stuff in like a cake. And yesh chomrim, shehu pas, yesh shehu pas, I don't care what's added into it. Avim yeveshim, dried out vikosisin, and you have to bite it. So the first two are giving you that the content is different. Either the content is the dough is the same, but the filling, there's a filling, or the dough itself is made sweet. And the third opinion is the consistency, that it's crunchy. Now, who do we paskin by? Now, point to our little introduction. Well, all of these take it away from being Hamozee, because they're all different ways to remove it from the Hamozee category, either because of content, the insides, content, the dough itself, or the consistency. So how do we paskin? And he paskins beautifully. Who does he paskin by? Because he brings this opinion, that opinion, that opinion. And who does he paskin by? Because based on the introduction, which one of these should knock them out from being Hamozee? Just one of them? One of them. Halacha kedivrei kulam. Perfect. We paskin by all of them, meaning they're not necessarily arguing. Each sheet of the Shulchan Aruch brought is just another way to take this out of the bread category and put it into the snack category. In order to become Hamozee, it needs to be a proper bread. That's a main meal food. And any one of these are all ways to take it out of Hamozee and put it into Mezonos. So we paskin like all of them. And there's one last point. is what if I go ahead, I take flour and water, and I cook them, I make them into noodles. So it's flour and water. But what is missed over here? Another part that you have to have that goes into this whole mix is what? Is that what's the process that it went through? Baking as opposed to cooking. Cooking has nothing to do with bread. Lechem is baked. Once you get into cooking, you can have 3 pots of noodles. It doesn't matter. It always stay Mezonos because that's not pas hababikistin. That's Mezonos. Pas hababikistin is it's a form of bread. Every cake you have is a form of bread. It's called pas hababikistin because it's baked with flour and water. But since it's been diverted a bit, if you just have a little bit, it is Mezonos, unless you make a meal. Cooked stuff, noodles, that's not possible. That's nowhere close to the category of bread in any shape or form. Someone called me last week. Wow, great. Where do bagels fit in? And that's a very important topic because my son Shlomo, you should be going from 9 to 12 to Holy Bagels. And if you stop in, say hello. My son's working there now. He goes there in the morning and then he's in the sift in the afternoon. Yeah. So if you want a good bagel, you know where to go. Anyway, so bagels, the knockout question, because it's baked, it's cooked, it has both. It's finished off with the baking, right? Or the other way around. Boil first and then bake. So the simple answer is that once it's baked, it picks up that pas quality. But it is a discussion in the postskin, but we do pretty much postskin that way. But it's a great question. Okay. So there, I do have to get moving in a moment, but there we sort of remove some of the mystifying element over here. Basically, what you want is flour and water baked into a staple main meal kind of food. And as long as you have that baked good has the right contents, the right consistency, and the right intention, then that's enough. Where things get fun is, well, what about intention? What if it's baked as a bagel or croutons is baked as bread, and then in the factory they go ahead and make it into croutons or bagel chips. It was Hamozee. Now you're de-Hamozeeing. Right? Wow. That's going to be fun. But those are the details. The basic criteria, Baruch Hashem, in a few precious minutes, I hope that the next few times, always, that you have Mezonos. Okay, I hear the different categories. Chazal had it all organized, precisely. And then with each new generation that comes, you have different kinds of foods. Bagel chips are then the post-skim apply these rules that we said, which have been around for 2,000 years from Chazal, and they apply to different cases. Okay, and I guess I'll finish our shir by wishing everyone a b'tei avon. Yes.
And now you hear me? Halacha l'maisa. Airplanes, when they say it's Mezonos, what if it's really the main part? Sometimes they give you bagels for breakfast and say it's Mezonos. Can you depend that it's Mezonos, but you have to wash?
Good. So the $1 million question is the Mezonos rolls that are sold around the country and on the planes. So next week, I'll go through the different sheets. I can't give you one quick answer because there's not one. Some say it's Mezonos, some say Hamozee, and I'll explain the different sides. And then we could talk about different suggestions, Allah L'mais, what to do.
I need it for tonight.
You're flying tonight?
Amir Hashem, yeah.
Hey, so
Granddaughter's wedding.
Because it's a suffix, and I like avoiding a suffix, I wash on bread that I take from home while I'm in the airport before I get on the plane. I have in mind that that's going to cover, and I leave a little bit of bread to finish on the plane so I could bench in that place in my seat, and that covers the meal.
Even if it's a few hours later? Even if it's a few hours later, you should take a bite every so often.
That would be the best, but if a person is really stuck, I would say you have who to rely on to say the Mezonos on the roll, but it is a suffix. There's no way to get out of it. There are different opinions on it. So, but if you
Uh-huh.
eat consistently every once in a while till you get to the meal, that does work, and then you yotze according to all opinions.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Going to the States.
Yes, Hashem. Yeah.
Enjoy,
Granddaughter's
enjoy.
wedding. Granddaughter's wedding.
Mazel
Thank you.
tov, the Israel. Mazel tov.
Amen. 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 Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Baruch Hashem.